So the summer of 2022 is one of the craziest times of my real estate career because I just ended up buying this house at a low 7s rate, which is just mind-blowing to me because, a year and a half ago, I bought a house with a 3% interest rate. So I have Mark Angelone from Movement Mortgage.
What's up, guys?
Mark did an incredible job of doing this loan for my house, and I wanted to talk about the reasons why I locked in an interest rate of 7.25%. So the main big reason that I wanted to do this type of loan is I wanted to get it done quick. So I wanted to do this loan based off of spring market comps. I wanted to lock it in and do the appraisals right in the summer so I can have the highest comps for April, May, June, which is the peak of the 2022 and mostly every single year market. So Mark, why did we end up going with this jumbo product with conventional underwriting standards? And that's the one that I chose, with all the options and all the different banks and all the different products. That's the one that I wanted to go with. And why was that?
Sure. So we have like 5 or 6 different jumbo programs. And the one that you chose specifically was conventional underwriting done in-house by Movement. That's why we were able to close it in less than 3 weeks. And because of that, obviously you pay for what you get. It's a little bit of a higher rate, but you got the comps in. You're able to get the value you needed, and because of that, it was worth a little bit rate, and you can refi it come the time.
Yep, and that's one of the ideas that I have is when this inflation tapers down from about 8.5% and we get it back towards the targeted 2.5–3%. It's very easy to refinance and get that lower rate. One of the benefits of most conventional loans compared to commercial is, this house was around just below $1 million loan amount. And with conventional or jumbo financing, you just pay a flat loan origination fee of around $1,000. Whereas if this were a commercial loan, I'd be paying 1% origination fee. So this would be a $10,000 loan. Right. So to refinance, it'll be minimal fees to go ahead and do that later down the road.
Usually 1% to 2% max. I mean, you don't have transfer tax since you already own a house. Origination fee, appraisal, escrows, and that's basically it.
So when you told me originally that you could do this loan in under 30 days, I was kind of mind blown because I've done a refinance in the past. It's taken much longer time. I mean, well over 60 days. How were you able to do this so quickly in 17 days? It was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Well, we got 2 full-time assistants that hopped right on it. And the way we work is we take the application, we collect what we need, we submit the loan right to underwriting so that when it comes back, we're not chasing conditions that we don't necessarily need. So because of that, we were done in basically 2 weeks. Francis was on top of all the documentation and we got it done. We actually closed 4 loans with 1 credit pull.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I saw that was super beneficial was not only was I able to cash out refinance this personal residence, but I was able to add another home equity line of credit on this home, which I think is spectacular.
Yep.
And you can piggyback off that first. You were able to cash out refi 2 of my other investment properties, essentially with all this, and the whole process was seamless. So why don't you tell everyone about what that looks like?
Yeah, so we did a 75% LTV cash out refi on this primary home that we're sitting in, and then we have a HELOC that'll go up to 90% LTV. So Francis can essentially get another almost $200,000 line of credit using that HELOC if he wants to go purchase another property. As for the investment properties, sort of the same deal. I mean, they weren't as big of loan amounts, but we got them done in 2 weeks max. He went right up to the conventional loan limit, so they stayed conventional, and that's kind of what we did there.
So what's the benefit of doing a cash out refi Fannie Freddie to the conventional loan limit? What's the difference of those underwriting standards compared to jumbo?
Well, when it gets to investment properties, there's a lot more guidelines that are involved with jumbo. For primary home, it's not as bad, but that's why we use the in-house product at Movement. When it comes to investments, it's better to stay under the limit if you can, if at all possible. I mean, your appraisals weren't that much above the conventional limit that we were leaving a lot on the table. So in this case, conventional made more sense. But obviously, if it's a $2–3 million house or even a $1 million house, you're gonna wanna try to use jumbo loans when you can. The overlays and guidelines aren't that complicated, but you just have to know what you're looking at.
And the reason why I wanted to even refinance one of my other investment properties is the benefit of having an investment property is it's 100% business, so you can write off all the interest that you're spending with that. And I was at Grant Cardone's conference like earlier this year. He had this guy, Tillman Fertitta, who owns the Houston Rockets, and he was worth over $10 billion. And Tillman Fertitta was talking about how in the middle of the COVID pandemic, he ended up taking lines of credits on his assets for $300 million with interest rates of up to 10%. And basically, he said, in an economic downturn, you want to be able to have the cash to buy other people's misfortune and wanting to dump illiquid assets, such as real estate, for lower dollars below market. And that's why I just wanted to load up cash with all the market volatility and all the uncertainness that's going on in this current economy.
Well, with values the way they are, just real estate in general, where the stock market was, people are borrowing against their assets, whether it's brokerage accounts, real estate. Usually those are the lowest rates you can possibly get to borrow money. So that's what we're seeing for most of our clients.
And what I like too is, in my case, the monthly payment that the tenants are bringing in is still covering the monthly mortgage payment. And later on, if I ever want to refinance, I can refinance at an 80% LTV because it'll be a rate and term refinance compared to a 75 LTV cash out refi.
Right. I think the key right now is making sure that you're at least breaking even. And then come the time, 12 to 18 months, you refi the property, you're cash flowing a few $100 to $1,000, whatever it is. And then that's where you're going to see the cash flow start to come in.
And that whole equation that we talked about doesn't even consider the accelerated depreciation that you can take for investment properties.
Right.
So what's your outlook for the rest of the 2022 real estate market?
I think we're going to see a lot of demand still. I mean, a lot of people aren't listing their homes because they might be in a under 3% interest rate. So you have inflated demand there. The city's softening a little bit, but we see a lot of investors and second homes coming in. The suburbs are still multiple offers on every property that's worth buying, and we're going to continue to see that. I mean, they're not necessarily scared away by the rates, especially second and third time buyers. They want to get the property, they want to get the appreciation, they'll refi it when they can. So I think that's what we're going to continue to see.
So what advice would you give your brother Matt just bought his first home. What kind of advice did you give him through buying his first, home?
Sure. I'd say focus on the payment, not necessarily the interest rate. Figure out what you want to spend all in on the purchase and on a monthly basis, and stay within that realm. Know that you'll be able to refi it down at some point, but don't bank on that. Just, try to focus on the payment less so than the interest rate or what you see in the news. Focus on the areas, places that are going to have good appreciation, and you're never going to lose as long as you focus on those things.
I think the one thing that most homeowners don't know is that, let's say you go buy $1 million house, right? And you're writing off, let's just say a 7% rate, and it's $1 million loan amount. That homeowner that's buying the house is now able to write off $70,000 a year off of their ordinary. Well, no, because you can only write $750,000 of it as your primary. You're capped at that seven. But still, if you're buying a $750,000 home, that's a lot of interest that you're writing off. So your payment is actually not that high because you're getting those tax monies back when you file at the end of the year.
Right. I think a lot of first-time buyers, they see a lot of stuff in the news that they're gonna buy a house and become a millionaire. It takes time, right? You gotta let the market appreciate with it. You gotta pay down your loan. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's an asset, but you can't look at it like you're gonna get rich overnight because it's just not like that.
Well, there are some markets where if you would have bought 2020 in Florida, or you would have bought in Austin, Texas, or you would have bought in North or South Carolina. Those asset values have gone up tremendously. Even here in Philadelphia, in the core areas, if you would have gotten into Grad Hospital or Fittler Square in 2020, you would have at least doubled whatever, put a 5% down. You could have doubled, 100%. Made 100, 200 grand on your purchase.
But nowadays,
in most cases,
slow down.
In most cases, you're not, don't bank on.
It's a long game, 3-5 years. Doesn't have to be 30 years necessarily. No one really pays a mortgage for 30 years, but it takes time.
And so with Mark saying not banking on making money on your primary home, I have a strategy where I go buy, properties in great locations, value add where you do small repairs, increasing the value and increasing the desire of other people to buy or rent your property. And you're essentially forcing the appreciation by doing work and making the property better. And that's how, combining that with renting and refinancing the property down the road, that's how you can build a real estate portfolio with essentially recycling and getting your down payment money out of purchasing it. And you can essentially build a long-term portfolio without having any cash down once you refi.
Yep, there's a lot of ways to pull equity out. I mean, you cash out refi, HELOC like you're doing now. So that's what people are doing. I mean, that's where people are recycling their money into real estate, pushing the taxes down the road and just doing it that way. So it's good stuff.
How many loans are you going to close this year?
Maybe 120.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Congratulations. We'll keep up the great work, man.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.